let's break down a couple things here. All right. So, your take on the debate last night. I heard a little bit of it last night before we got mixed up, but there was another section where there appeared to be a big difference. To me, there's a big difference, but then people are drawing this equivalency that I don't necessarily agree with, but it sounds like you may hear something, and I'll play the clip. Let me play the clip that I'm referring to set it up for everyone. This is Donald Trump on race. Listen in.
Well, first of all, Secretary Clinton doesn't want to use a couple of words, and that's law and order. And we need law and order. If we don't have it, we're not going to have a country. And when I look at what's going on in Charlotte, a city I love, a city where I have investments, when I look at what's going on throughout various parts of our country, whether it's, I mean, I can just keep naming them all day long. We need law and order in our country. And I just got today as you know, the endorsement of the Fraternal Order of Police. We just came in. We have endorsements from, I think, almost every police group, a large percentage of them in the United States. We have a situation where we have our inner cities, African Americans, Hispanics, are living in hell.
All right, let me skip a little bit.
You get shot. In Chicago, since January 1st, war-torn country, what are we doing? And we have to stop the violence. We have to bring back law and order in a place like Chicago where thousands of people have been killed, thousands over the last number of years.
All right, let me try this
I don't
one.
think anybody knows it was Russia that.
Okay, so I couldn't get I didn't cut it clean enough. But basically, he started off with this entire tirade about, the question was, what are you going to do about racial healing? And he said, well, we need law and order. And then Lester Holt asked him again, what are you going to do about racial healing? And he's basically saying, well, black on black crime. And then he said, Lester Holt asked again, what are you going to do about racial healing? And Donald Trump said that that we need to institute stop and frisk. Right. And so to me, it's like a complete slap in the face of the black community and the Hispanic community, the Latino community nationwide, because he is advocating for policies on a nationwide level that will disproportionately hurt African Americans. What was your take on that, Anoa?
I don't disagree with that. I think where we might have had some disagreement was in terms of the conversation on the flip side with Hillary Clinton. I know a lot of people so I'll start there. Like, I absolutely agree with what you're saying about Donald Trump. I don't know if you heard this part, but I think he's like Judge Dredd. He's like something out of a Sylvester Stallone movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Law and order, as if somehow, I am the law.
Yeah.
Like, as if somehow that's just going to make everything better. And that's not even an issue. Like just to step back for a second, my whole problem with that entire section of the conversation was it put between both of them and put the onus on black people. Somehow, some way, it focused solely on us, as if the issue of race in America is not. It's also about other people who interact with us. Like you mentioned, Latino people too. There are issues within the Latino community because there are Black Latinos and people are not necessarily recognized and treated accordingly as well. So I mean, there's a whole host of issues, but their entire conversation focused on this notion of law and order. And where I drew a comparison to an extent was that's what they both talked about. Trump just came right out and said that's what he's talking about. He was just rough. He has the racist police, and I'm not going to mince words. The Fraternal Order Police, you know, Pat Lynch and them from New York, they are racist. There's no doubt about it. They are the ugliest of the ugly.
Thank you. They are the ugliest of the ugliest and the most racist of the most racist. The Fraternal Order of Police are the scum of the earth across the nation.
Because I just saw a piece, I linked to it because I wrote if anybody's wondering about the piece I wrote on race for a progressive army, it's just it's my attempt at a straight news piece, just what happened during that segment. But I linked to an article that talked about, and I think it was in Dallas, some of the black officers in Dallas, because he is right. A lot of the some of the police departments, but a lot of their unions are endorsing him. Fraternal Order Police is the largest one. But in Dallas, they actually, the black officers were saying, we don't support this. And there are officers of color all across the country who are saying that there's no way they can support support him. They don't support this. They're not speaking for us. But that has been a problem that has happened when you look at the leadership. And I talk about Pat Lynch in New York with the vitriol and stuff that came out of New York. You know, you have I can't remember the president's name out of Cleveland and the stuff he said after, Tamir Rice's killing. I mean, so there are serious issues with Donald Trump, and I absolutely agree with you, Ben. For anyone to act like what he's saying isn't that bad or isn't any worse, it is problematic. And but it's all of it is, my point is that all of it is problematic. With Hillary Clinton, it may be on a different level what she's saying, but it's also problematic because when I was looking back through the transcript, one thing that I noticed, and it's not very clear, and I actually probably just need to listen to that whole section again, because when you read it and then when you listen to it, how things happen in conversations seem very different when you listen to versus when you read it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I noticed was that she seemed to almost concede his point about stop and frisk being an effective tool. But then she did go on to say some other stuff. And that's the other thing. Hillary Clinton is very quick. She's great with facts. She can turn a phrase. I mean, she doesn't do it as well as Obama or Bill does, but she does a really good job of it. So you get so caught up in the things that she says right that we don't see what she says wrong. Well, and she said a lot that was wrong.
Let me tell you what she said
bothered
wrong.
Me.
Here's the first thing that she said wrong on the race section, right? And here's the problem, right? So people have dismissed this idea that there actually is a difference between evils. Like, I get it. I get it. Everybody has this really great catchphrase. The Democrats are not the lesser of two evil. They're the more efficient evil. Thanks, Glenn Ford. Right. Everybody's saying that now. Congratulations. But the truth of the matter is Hillary Clinton was dead wrong on her approach to trying to soften the conversation from being specifically about police that Lester Holt asked to making it about everybody. And when you make an issue of race about everybody, then you don't have any emphasis on the specific group that needs to be addressed, which is racial problems in police. And that was dead wrong, and that's her mastercraft. That's what she does.
She started off wrong. She started off with how, when he talked about implicit bias. Well, we all have implicit biases.
Exactly.
No,
wrong. We're talking about the police.
In a position of life or death.
Exactly. But now, here's the thing. That is a huge problem, what she said, and that's something that she needs to be called on, and that's something that her black firewall better be holding her feet to the fire and not just singing to her like Mary J. Blige was singing to her today.
I don't think they will, though, which is why she has to.
But hang on now.
I think they agree.
As much as Hillary Clinton's statement was problematic, Donald Trump's statement was magnitudes of order worse in terms of the real impact it will have. I hear people saying, I had two people from New York. Umar's one of them. Umar, you can call in. Saying, well, we lived through stop and frisk. Yeah, you don't have stop and frisk right now. Do you want the rest of America to live through it?
But they don't have it the same level.
They don't have it to the same extent.
This is the thing. It's not the same extent. So here's the thing, though, right? So because the practice itself. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I say to people, because I agree with you about what Trump says. But I don't listen to what Trump says. I think about what can realistically happen. And here's my other thing. If we're so concerned about what Trump is going to do nationally for all police officers, then conversely, why can't Barack Obama or the DOJ or Loretta Lynch or anyone in it, or Hillary Clinton, if she's president, why can't they similarly enact policy nationwide? Like, we have this notion when it's something that we're fearful of, oh my God, it's going to happen everywhere. But when it's something that's more proactive, we have all these excuses and rationalizations for why it can't be done everywhere. You're not
going to find excuses here to protect and cape for Barack Obama.
But my issue is not that it's not that what Donald Trump said was not worse or really bad or detrimental or problematic. It's the fact that, for me anyway, that we overlook or we glance over what Hillary Clinton does say and how insidious it actually is, because she says it so nicely and well worded, and it's packed.
Well, here's the truth. Here's the truth of the matter, though.
She talks about how great. Wait, Ben. When she talks about how great the prior two mayors, she said prior two mayors, not the current mayor. So prior two mayors would be Giuliani, who's a basket case, and Bloomberg. She also talked about the prior two police chiefs, Kelly and Bratton, who just got basically chased out of office.
Yes.
So she tacitly, he's overtly endorsing the worst of the worst, but she tacitly slips it in there. So if you hear it, then you'll still think she'll fight for you.
But we're still not talking about the same thing. We're still not talking about. We're not talking about apples to apples. And this is really important, right? This is really important for people to understand. We're still not talking about apples to apples, because Donald Trump has the ability. He does have the ability to incentivize police departments. People say he can't do it. We have at the federal level always got into the business of the states and local municipalities by virtue of federal funding. He has the ability to incentivize a stop and frisk type culture across the nation, and having it across the nation is clearly worse. And now here's the other thing. Even if he doesn't get it done, Donald Trump has the heart and the minds of those police officers anyway. And so even if he can't actually put in on the books stop and frisk in every state of the union, he has the ability to create that mindset that will be amplified all the more with the people who are out there on the streets every single day. So it's a very direct way that he can affect it, but there's also a very indirect way that just his persona, his language, law and order, what he says actually carries weight in the minds of people. When he said, knock them the hell out, what did you start seeing people do in his rallies? You started seeing people punch people, literally hitting them, literally. So his words carry weight even if they don't turn into policy. And for people to just dismiss it as being equal, and I'm not saying you're saying this because you're not saying this, but I'm seeing too many people try to make equal Donald Trump's rhetoric and policy positions on stop and frisk with Hillary Clinton's saying that or having Bloomberg speak at the DNC. There is a difference, and for us to just dismiss that and try to draw an equivalency between that is wrong.
I think there is equivalency, considering how problematic, considering how problematic, Bloomberg is. I do think, because she herself, Bloomberg a year ago in 2015, he was speaking, I think it was the Aspen Institute, talked about how young black men should not be allowed to own guns. Not the conversation they had about how those people shouldn't have guns, because they both fed into that. Their conversation was so problematic. I think I agree with you in terms of what you're saying about the stop and frisk distinction to an extent, but I still think that we do have to, and I agree with you about it doesn't have to be, comparing who's worse or whatever. And I don't even like that conversation, because they're both problematic for very specific reasons, not entirely the same exact reasons. But Bloomberg got on a stage in front of predominantly white people and said that black men should not own guns. That is abhorrent to me. And he has made other little racist comments here and there. He may not be as over the top as Donald Trump is, his once former friend, but he is similarly problematic. And these are the people that are in her inner circle when it comes time to making policy. Her whole conversation last night about how this is about respect is problematic. And her firewall, black neoliberals, they feed into that. That's respectability politics on steroids. This is not an issue of respect. Even if I'm disrespectful, so to speak, that does not mean that a cop has the right to gun me down and take my life. Extrajudicial killings are the issue. There is process and procedure that absolutely must be.
You're not going to find any disagreement with me on
so I'm
that.
just saying, I think there are different conversations to be had with both of them. I do not think they're exactly equal, but they're problematic.
That's exactly correct. There are different conversations that have to be had on both of them. And what people have tried to do, instead of having separate conversations, people are trying to silence any criticism. Like, literally, this is where we are. Anyone who says something negative about Donald Trump, because it's true, they try to draw equivalencies with everything that Hillary, and they're not equivalent. You can have an entire doctoral thesis. You can have 99 theses on Hillary, on how problematic Hillary Clinton is, right? And you can have that completely separate from the fact that Donald Trump is not only everything Hillary Clinton is, but is worse, and he is vocally worse. It's a difference between having somebody who's advising you, who promoted stop and frisk, and you being the one who is now the champion for a national stop and frisk, law and order. There is just, Donald Trump has this as his goal. This is him. This is not his surrogate. This is not his son. This is Donald Trump. He was the most clear-eyed and the coherent last night when he talked about implementing stop and frisk, law and order, and focusing everything on black and black crime with not even addressing, not even conceding that there's a problem with police violence. Now, he also added on top of that he's endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. And I'm sorry, if any of you have ever had an experience with the Fraternal Order of Police, I don't care what part of this nation, you understand they are one of the most disgusting groups of people that have ever existed in American modern history, right? And so this is his lifeblood. This is who he is. This is his essence. And we should be able to point this out without people saying, oh, you're just fear mongering. No, bitch, I'm telling you the truth about Donald Trump. And in your process and your hatred of Hillary Clinton, you are whitewashing Donald Trump in order to point everything at Hillary Clinton. You're not going to find a better critic of Hillary Clinton than me. But at the same time, Donald Trump has problems that we cannot just wash away and pretend that he's equal. I mean, just in the raw numbers, on economics, on the tax policy, I just demonstrated there are magnitudes of order differences between the two. And I'm still going to have people who are going to call and say, but she's still a neoliberal. Yeah, but she
is. And if you don't support her, then go green. Vote for PSL. I was very excited because I got to chat with Gloria LaRiva last night. But be understand exactly what you're getting.
Yes.
Right? I think is the point is like you can't, we're not going to delude ourselves and pretend like Donald Trump isn't that bad. Oh no, he's bad. He's crap. I mean, we know everything that's wrong with Hillary Clinton too, but either way, no matter who it is, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And we can't, and no matter what, I mean, if Donald Trump tries to do stop and frisk, I guess the ACLU and the rest of us are going to be mighty damn busy.
Yeah.
But like either way, because, you heard both of them endorse, banning guns for people on the terrorist watch list.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about that before. I mean, there are certain areas that are very scary with the two of them where they're very similar on, and we're up shit's creek without a paddle with either of them in certain scenarios. When it comes to, in particular, to the issue of race, and you talked about the tax stuff already. Economics is not my forte, but I mean the basics is there, and he's a disaster. But you know what? I mean.
So here's the flip side.
But that doesn't mean that because he's a disaster, we can just blindly ignore it.
Right.
I mean, if you're ready to let everything burn, that's fine, but better be ready to work.
Right, exactly. And here's the flip side of it, right? Knowing full well that Donald Trump is a disaster, and I'll bring the receipts. You can go check any of my videos. Knowing full and well that Donald Trump is a disaster does not stop our critique or our criticism of Hillary Clinton. It never has. But what Ben Dixon, will always stop is any of you who are trying to come and draw attention away from an issue about Donald Trump that needs to be addressed in order to make it about Hillary Clinton. It's just as insidious. It's a deflection. It is a deflection from the fact that you don't want this negative light, or you don't ever want anything to be negatively spoken about Donald Trump because you feel like it's going to help Hillary Clinton. The truth of the matter is, and people don't want to accept this, and people, I'm actually very happy today. I've lost about 100 followers. I'm going for about 500 or even 1,000. I don't even care, because people don't want to accept the reality that there will be a president that was on stage last night. It's either going to be Donald Trump or it's going to be Hillary Clinton. And people can't even accept that reality. A lot of people can't, but that's the sad reality. This is where we are.
Yeah, and I think that we need to understand, though, that we need to be real about what the situation is when we're talking about our third party candidates, but we need to continue to work together and mobilize now to put people in a better position that when they are developing whoever's going to run in 4 years for the Green Party, let's say, that person already has in place a strong base and grassroots organizational support, so that they're not trying to, pick up the pieces and so far behind, because we already see the power of grassroots. The Jill Stein's campaign is doing phenomenal compared to what has been done in the past for Green Party candidates, but it's still, unfortunately, barring some miracle and some change, it's not going to be enough. However, it is enough
hearts and mind of the people for those who are very committed and involved and building up the party, because this is why we got to change our mentality, even for those people who are staying in the Democratic Party, right? Or if you went to another party, or if you're starting your own party, you got to have that longevity and commitment to actually building something and supporting candidates beyond just your presidential election cycle. So we need to look to the midterm cycle. We need to look to 2020. And 2020 is really big in general because of redistricting. So there's a lot going on, and we can't get so bogged down with the fact that we hate. I love bashing on Hillary Clinton with the best of them. You know, last night Lena Dunham's dumbass is tweeting, "She slays." Yes, she does. She slays people in the Middle East all day. She slays. Like, seriously, she slays her husband's mistresses. I mean, she slays.
I don't think they understand. They don't understand the.
I don't think they get it. Queen Cersei, first of her name, they don't get it at all. But
and so that's our. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so that's our job, right? Our job is to either find our place in your other party, right? In your Green Party or your, God forbid, the Libertarian Party, wherever you're going, find your place and build and work, but be sober about what's happening in November of this year. Like, be sober enough to understand that Jill Stein is not going to win. No, she's not in 2016, right? We might can help her get 5%. It doesn't. She's at 3% right now, but we might can help her get to 5%. But be sober about that, and don't be delirious enough to actually think that if everyone who has student loans would just vote for her, then she could win. That's not how. Hang on. Let me do it like this. That's not how.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
All right, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. Anoa, let me let you get the last word on this conversation. What's the what else were you thinking about in terms of all this crap that we have in front of us?
I mean, it was last night was interesting. There were points where I just laughed out loud. I laughed out loud because Donald is such a damn fool. I will say this: the one thing I can say, whoever his handlers, he was better than he was during the primary. He was a lot better. He was an asshole. And I know a lot of people, this is the first time watching him because they didn't pay attention to the Republican ones. My kids and I, we actually tweeted and we watched one of the Republican ones, and my kids were yelling at the TV like, "You moron! Of course climate change is real." But anyway, but the fact checking, I think the one thing that overshadowed a lot for me was this notion that they weren't going to fact check, or they didn't think that Lester or any of the pundits should actually fact check them. And that's even though there were more red flags for Donald Trump than there were for Hillary Clinton, to let them say things that's just patently false, that we have proof. It's not about this big lie and little lie. I mean, those were issues. But what was the most dismay, aside from the race conversation, I felt was the fact that there were so many things that just were never talked about. There was no question about abortion. I mean, that cybersecurity, Russia, Red Scare stuff, they're going to milk that until they can't anymore, and it's a problem and it needs to stop. But there was no conversation about abortion. I mean, there was no real economic conversation. They talked about jobs, but there's so many other issues right now are not necessarily, are you going to bring in more jobs, or are you going to save the middle class? The middle class is whatever middle class she's talking about does not exist, or it's infinitesimal. Like, we have a current situation in this country where people are okay on paper. I'm one of them, but in real life, it is not pretty. I mean, student loans are crushing, and nothing she's putting out there is really helping. Nothing he's putting out there. So, I mean, we're screwed, and we got a lot of work to do, and we need to put together. We need to not be in this position in 4 more years. So we going primary. Whoever the hell is president, they getting primary the hell out of.
Exactly.
Like, we just need to do better.
I mean, Anoa, thanks so much for joining me for that segment. Next time we'll get your video and stuff right.
No worries. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm actually online ordering a new computer as we speak.
And there you go. All right, folks, that's Anoa Changa from The Way with Anoa. Always love having her on. You can find her on Twitter at The Way with Anoa.